well. Is this microphone on? Well, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is not the kind of talk that you come in and you leave smarter. You might actually leave dumber than you are because I'm going to be very honest. I am violently hungover and I made the slides in my bed this morning and this is the talk, which is called The List of Complaints, actually. So as an event organizer, that's been, like, I've been doing this for 3 years, very ADHD shenanigans around, so many different hackathons, many different conferences, ETH Sofia, ETH Bucharest, ETH Rome, ETH Dam. There's been a few. I've witnessed the dark side of organizing ETH events because it's literally, it's a struggle. Let me see where the clicker is. So this wonderful presentation will give you absolutely no insight, but it's just memes to keep you occupied when I inevitably space out and lose the train of thought. So how the fuck does an event, not just necessarily Ethereum, but how does an event start? And I'm not talking about big events, I'm talking about smaller community-run events. So usually somebody comes to a conference or a hackathon and they get very inspired and they're like, why don't we do this in our own place, in our own town? So somebody has the idea, there's a couple of people that are willing to support them, so you kind of assemble this team, and oh my god, there's so much work. Even the littlest things that you don't really realize when you're getting into it. For example, right now, I'm helping organize Ethereum ETH Vienna, and even the fucking Twitter handle, that was already an issue. I'm not even gonna start on how to start your own entity and how much do you have to pay, resident of what, and who are gonna be the co-founders, because at the moment it's a Telegram chat of a couple of people, and we're trying to, piece the things together. So, yeah, we do it because we thought it was easy, but it's not. And usually, when I say, just a couple of disclaimers, when I say events, I generalize. I'm not actually talking about specific events. It's a couple of trends that I've noticed throughout the time. In Europe, I haven't organized anything outside of Europe yet. But yeah, so people who usually get into organizing this, they have good intentions. Sometimes it's for money, but spoiler, it doesn't actually work out. You don't make a lot of money with events. But yeah, so next slide. I need a second to collect my thoughts. So organizers don't necessarily get paid. There is a profit that they can share at the end, and usually it's discussed before, how much percentage you're gonna get, because also it's a lot of work for like half a year. This is a slide I use a lot for my presentations, actually. But yeah, so it's a lot of work, and you're basically not paid throughout this work, and you go into it with good intentions of being like, we're gonna build something, we're gonna bring something good into it, and we will activate on board more people. And when you do that, you don't necessarily want to shill bad projects. I'm not gonna name names, but you don't want to, let's say, sell out yourself to protocols that just want to come up on stage, shill their project, and they actually don't have any value. And I mean, you've been to events, you know sometimes that happens. And yeah, so what do organizers face? They're not paid. Usually there's a down payment for a venue as well. So there's like 50K or less that they need to put down, and who's gonna pay for it? Who has that money? How does this even work? You didn't even find the sponsors, you're like 6 months before the hackathon or the conference, and you're freaking out. And this is literally what it feels like. You're going to bed with this pit in your stomach being like, but what if we don't first of all cover the expenses? What if we don't deliver? What if no one shows up? You're worried, you're constantly stressed. And by the way, I absolutely see why conferences take money from sponsors that are not necessarily aligning with their values, because it's a fucking stressful feeling. So it kind of works out in the end. The problem with this is that people end up burned out. People end up feeling like they worked so hard, and I've seen this before. There was a first amazing edition, but it just didn't happen again because they were like, hey, we did all of this work for free, and we didn't even make profit that would pay us for all of those months and sometimes a year that goes into planning this. So what can we do? Sorry, I'm just going through my list of complaints now. But yeah, so what can we do? And my answer is rethink the funding of the events, because this is relatively new area and new thing that's happening. And I think there's a hackathon or a conference or some kind of thing popping up in almost every major city in Europe, which I think is amazing. But we do need to find a better sustainable way of keeping it up. And yeah, in this economy, how do we face that? And again, I'm not giving you solutions here. I'm just putting things out as this is something that I've been bitching about for about 3 years. But yeah, I'm just going to give you some ideas, and maybe there's like someone smart in this room that will actually work on it and make it happen. But all of the ideas that I'm about to say have their own problems, but I mean, we must move forward. So what are we going to do? Oh yeah, that's actually the organizers, because when you're organizing an event, you're putting on all the hats. And it's not a team that is like professionally picked out. It's usually a couple of people with an idea and no idea how to do it. So it's a bit complicated and it's a weird process, but sorry, I got a bit sidetracked. So, what I think, and it's not just me, it's a lot of organizers that I've been talking to and basically chatting, and again, it's been a lot of drunk bitching and moaning about these kind of things. And yeah, so what can we do? Rethink funding. So instead of, for example, getting grants and getting this kind of support, what about if we do like a backup thing? So let's say you have a certain amount of costs that you need to cover. So you need 50K for a conference. What about if you don't get to that level, you will be backed up. So you will be like, okay, like we got 40K, but we're not going to pay 10K out of our own pocket, but somebody can come in and help out. So through grants, through applications, and all of the annoying processes of getting it, this could be a thing. The problem is transparency, because then people can be sneaky, people can be annoying about it. So how do we go around it? So transparent funding, no, sorry, not transparent funding, transparency in financial things that involve organizing an event, which can bring a lot of issues. So there's a lot of people that would be like, why did you spend 2K on Prosecco's for the after party? No, like there's always going to be people that will bitch about something. But I feel like transparency in general is always good. So you can also see where the money goes. And also, well, when somebody's bitching about it, well, maybe they could be right as well. So you can get feedback, even though it's not always constructive. But we live in this world. Oh yes, so actually, this was me last night. Whoever organized the fondue event, they owe me like an ibuprofen today, because honestly, the wine was good, the food was amazing, but Jesus Christ, that was a wild ride. But yeah, so having transparent funding and having a bit more of a backup for the smaller events. I'm not talking about ETH Global here. I'm talking about like smaller community-run events. That would help, and having transparent funding can be a way to get there. Also, another note. Like having maybe salaries for the organizers, which, I mean, the organizers don't really get paid. I mean, they could if there's like a system in that place already, or they're getting paid by the company or something else. But I mean, even having $500 like a month would be nice for all the work that you're putting in, because it's a lot of late nights, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of like I said, my list of complaints goes on, by the way. But it's a tough one to figure out, and I lost my train of thought, so next slide. Yeah, so having salaries, even if they're very small for organizers, because also sometimes it's just nice to know that you're appreciated and somebody cares, because otherwise you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I have a wife and kid at home, like, why am I doing this? And also just having maybe bonuses. So for an event, if it's a hackathon and you have maybe like 100 or like 200 hackers show up, or having a couple of projects that are built that are actually like fucking amazing, then having bonuses for those organizers and being like, hey, you did a good job. Or, I mean, having like onboarded 10 developers, that's already great. And, just having little rewards for this kind of stuff, because otherwise there's really no rewards for this. And then, also, that's not my point, but this is a point of someone from ETH Warsaw team, making it a bit more eco-friendly. So, and sustainable, because there's a lot of events going on in the same areas. So it would be nice to have maybe bundle sponsorship packages, and he's actually working on a platform for this. So, the sponsor, they want to put 20K out for events, but they're not sure which event to pick. So what if they had like ETH Bucharest, ETH Sofia, something else that's like in the vicinity, and then just have events happening consecutively, and then you kind of get different people, different developers from those communities, but you also don't have to like throw out your banners. You don't have to rent furniture. You can just rent a truck, and then you have all of those like things that are thrown out immediately after a conference with all the branding, and they can just, go around, and it's a nice road trip, I guess. But this could be an option. Again, not providing solutions here. I'm just throwing ideas around. And yeah, that's actually it. And scene.